Now we got a problem. If theistic evolution and old earth was compatible with the Bible, that means Genesis 1 is wrong.
And here it is again for a college for 20 to 29 years old who go to attend church in their youth. Only 11% go to church in their college years. And why? Right there, 20 to 29-year-olds still going to church. Does the Bible contain errors? Almost 40% said yes or I'm not sure. And why? 52% because of the theory of evolution.
This passage right there, I could never entertain that I take a mythical approach to Genesis because it means Jesus doesn't know what he's talking about. Here's why I could never buy into it. Not only when Jesus quotes Genesis 1:27, Genesis 2:24 as actual history, how God created. But this one really bothered me because they'll say, well, Jesus was speaking on their level. So he's just telling them what they believed. Well, what the hell do you do with this one? Now, right here, he says, his generation will be responsible for the murder of all the righteous, starting with Abel.
Yeah, wow.
That one, for me, is more powerful than when Jesus says that he made them male and female. And when a man shall leave his father and mother and cling to his wife, because they'll say he was accommodating them. They believed in Genesis. But here Jesus is saying the reason why Jerusalem temple will be destroyed, because you will fill up the full measure of all the wickedness and murder and bloodshed that your father started with the first murder, Abel. So then why would Jesus hold them accountable for a murder that never took place?
Wow. Because it goes right back to Adam and Eve.
Yes.
And then the fall, and they're kicked out of the garden, and then they have Cain and Abel. And it starts right there from the blood of righteous Abel. According to theistic evolution, oh no, it goes way back further than that, right? To pre-human like hominin ancestors. But right here, Jesus is again going right back to just after the creation week. From the beginning of creation, he made the male and female. And he's starting it with the blood of righteous Abel.
The first murder. But if we follow their logic, there would have been plenty of people who were murdered prior. Right. Or if Jesus is going to hold them accountable for a murder that didn't take place, then he must be unjust.
Yes.
If Zacharias, son of Barachias, was murdered, and then he says, I'm going to send you apostles and wise men you're going to murder, and then they had Jesus murdered, these are all actual acts of violence. You're going to tell me Abel is a myth? And so Jesus is going to hold them accountable for a murder that did not take place? Where's the justice?
That is an excellent point, Sam.
That's why I could never say, man, there is no freaking way I can say Genesis is myth, because that means Jesus doesn't know. There goes his deity. Or Jesus is going to hold people for a murder didn't happen. There goes his justice. You make Jesus wicked. He does it again here. Luke 11:50-51. That the blood of all the prophets, which was shed from the foundation of the world, may be required to generation. He even says Abel is a prophet. Because he says the blood of all the prophets that were murdered, starting with Abel. He's the first prophet that was murdered. But if we follow the mythical interpretation of Genesis, Abel did not exist. So Jesus, what are you talking about?
I like to ask people, when did they go from being myths to being real? Because they believe some people in that genealogy are real. So when did they become real and when did they become fake?
So imagine, well, Adam and Eve were mythical, but then right away, Cain and Abel were real.
Now, I want to show you two statements from the Apocrypha that destroy theistic evolution and old creationism out of water. This will at least tell you how the Jews understood the Old Testament. First of all, what they call the technical term to sound intelligent, creatio ex nihilo. Watch first this one. Look at this, brother. I beseech you, 2 Maccabees 7:28, my child, to look at the heavens and the earth and see everything that is in them and recognize that God did not make them out of things that existed. Bam!
I got to read that. I beseech you, my child, to look at the heaven and the earth and see everything that is in them and recognize that God did not make them out of things that existed.
All right, but now watch the clearest destruction of old earth and evolution. Wisdom, Solomon chapter 1, 12-16. Do not invite death by the error of your life, nor bring on destruction by the work of your hands. Because God did not make death.
Wow.
And he does not delight in death of the living, for he created all things that they may exist. And the generative forces of the world are wholesome. There is no destructive poison in them. And the dominion of Hades is not on earth, meaning the dominion of the dead is not on earth. He didn't create people to die or anything to die. He said, the generative forces of the world, not just humans, wholesome. There is no poison in any of it. And the dominion of Hades is not on earth, for righteousness is immortal. So then when did death come into the world? For ungodly men, by their words and deeds, summoned death. Considering him a friend, they pined away. They made a covenant with him because they are fit to belong to his party. How are you going to marry this with theistic evolution and old earth? Here you're told there was no death until man sinned. And not just human death, there was nothing destructive in all the living things that he made. So
Awesome.
even if someone doesn't accept this as canonical, it still tells you this is how the Jews before Christ understood Genesis. So they learned that from Genesis,
Right.
everything was made from nothing. And they learned from Genesis, there was no death, nothing destructive in all that God created. He doesn't just say man. He says the generative forces of the world are wholesome. But if we go with macroevolution or theistic evolution, there were a lot of death and a lot of destructive elements before mankind showed up.
Right.
Another thing that destroyed my belief in old earth creationism, when I read Genesis 9, that messed me up because Genesis 9 says it wasn't until after the flood that animals were allowed to eat other animals and humans eat animals. That means up until the flood, neither animals nor humans were eating flesh. Because he says, now I give you flesh to eat, just without the blood. Here, guys, watch the change. God blessed them, and God said unto them, be fruitful and multiply, replenish the earth and subdue it. Have dominion over the fish of the sea and over the fowl of the earth, and over every living thing that moveth upon the earth. And God said, behold, I have given you every herb, not animal, bearing seed, which is upon the face of all the earth, and every tree, in the which is the fruit of a tree yielding seed. To you it shall be of meat, meaning food, meaning the trees will be your meat. To every beast of the earth, what about animals? And to every fowl of the air, and to everything that creepeth upon the earth, wherein there is life, I have given every green herb for meat. And it was so. No flesh eating among animals or humans. But then after the flood, here, God says it black and white. Genesis 9, here it is, guys. When do animals and humans eat flesh? God blessed Noah and his son, said unto them, be fruitful, multiply, replenish the earth. And the fear of you and the dread of you shall be upon every beast of the earth. Notice, prior to this, they lived in perfect peace. Now animals will be afraid of humans and will attack humans. And upon every fowl of the air, upon all that move upon the earth, and upon all the fishes of the sea, and to your hand are they delivered. Every moving thing that liveth shall be meat for you. Now you can eat animals. Now we got a problem. If theistic evolution and old earth was compatible with the Bible, that means Genesis 1 is wrong. Genesis 1 says, neither animals, nor birds, nor humans ate flesh. It's only after the flood, he says, now you can eat the flesh of animals, except no blood. And now if an animal kills a human, I will hold that animal accountable. That means prior to the flood, animals were not killing humans, and humans did not kill animals for food and sustenance. Okay, but another problem I have with theistic evolution is that according to Isaiah 11 and Isaiah 65, God is going to restore the earth to the way it was, where animals don't eat animals and don't attack humans, and humans don't eat animals. When God restores the earth, he says this, but now watch. The wolf shall dwell with the lamb, and the leopard shall lie down with the kid, and the calf and the lion and fatling together, and a little child shall lead them. Not in this fallen world, and if a child leads them, the child will be torn to smithereens. But when God restores things to the way it was before the fall and before the flood, we're going to go back to the way it was. Animals don't kill animals. Animals don't kill humans. Humans don't kill animals. A restoration. The cow and the bear shall feed. Well, today, if you put a bear next to a cow, good luck. The young shall lie down together. The lion shall eat straw, not flesh, like the ox. The suckling child will even play with poisonous snakes, and they won't harm him or bite him and kill him. The sucking child shall play over the hole of the asp. The weaned child shall put his hand on the adder's den. They shall not hurt or destroy in all my holy mountain. No more violence, no more death, no more bloodshed. Animals won't kill animals. Animals don't kill humans. Humans don't kill animals, just like it was before the flood. And in case you doubt, this is referring to the new heaven, new earth. There you go. Isaiah 65, 16 to 25. So that he who blesses himself in the land shall bless himself by the God of truth. Note, he's the true God, cannot lie. He who takes on an oath in the land shall swear by the God of truth, because the former troubles are forgotten and are hid from my eyes. For behold, I create new heavens and a new earth, and the former things shall not be remembered or come into mind. But be glad and rejoice forever in that which I create. For behold, I create Jerusalem rejoicing. When you go to Revelation, this Jerusalem is the one that comes down. But how does this confirm the Genesis story that before the flood, animals did not eat animals, animals did not prey on humans, humans didn't eat animals? Well, let's go here. The wolf and the lamb shall feed together. The lion shall eat straw like the ox. There you go. No flesh. The dust shall be the serpent's food, meaning he won't bite and harm and kill anyone with its deadly poison. They shall not hurt or destroy in all my holy mountain, says the Lord. Game over. That's it. You can't believe the Bible and hold to theistic evolution or old earth creation. You can't do it, guys. You can't. But people don't want to give up their faith in the Bible. So what gives in? The Bible, not science. So they will reinterpret the Bible, make Bible agree with science.
Oh, yeah. I got a great picture for that, actually.
There you go. Yeah, isn't it ironic? They will edit, cut out the Bible, but not touch Charles Darwin's theory of evolution.
Kids are losing their faith, Sam, based on evidence that has been absolutely demolished. So as parents, we need to train up our children with the truth, with these arguments. So when they go off to school, when they go off to college, high school, when they hear their teachers bring up, oh, homology or transitional fossils or beneficial mutations, they're going to be prepared and equipped to counter those arguments.
And here it is again for a college for 20 to 29 years old who go to attend church in their youth. Only 11% go to church in their college years. And why? Right there, 20 to 29-year-olds still going to church. Does the Bible contain errors? Almost 40% said yes or I'm not sure. And why? 52% because of the theory of evolution.
So these theistic evolutionists that want to say, oh, it doesn't matter, evolution's compatible with the Bible, it's not a big deal, let's all get together. No, these stats, the facts, reality shows that this is an important issue, and biological evolution is in common descent, the idea that all plants and animals are related through common ancestry. It needs to be demolished because Satan is clearly utilizing it as a way to move people, starting with the kids, from God.